Welcome back to Made Up of Wires, where we're decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night. If you're not familiar with the Symphony of the Night decompilation project, go to soten.z.dev to learn more. You'll find a link to GitHub, where you can see all the stuff that we've decompiled so far, and a link to Discord, where we're chatting about various things about decompilation. There's still problems to solve. We get asked every once in a while, how far along are we? I think I'm going to stick with around 40%. There's some things that we still don't know, and that's what makes this fun. If we knew everything, we'd be done, and there's a bunch we don't know yet. And we'll figure those things out along the way. We've been working on BO6, which, for whatever reason, is showing up as invalid, but we're part of the way through, at least. I don't know why it's showing up as invalid. We're not completely at zero. BO6 is the Richter boss. If you're not familiar with the game, spoiler alert, you fight Richter. And actually, the real spoiler is you shouldn't fight Richter. But if you haven't played the game, you probably shouldn't be watching a decompile stream about it. Also, the game is nearly 30 years old at this point, and it's hard to say that there should be spoilers. Also, Darth Vader's Luke Skywalker's father. Sorry. You'll find some graphs here with the various overlays that we've decompiled, and I don't have BO6 up here yet. I haven't submitted a change to import that yet. But top was one that we did recently. Kind of interesting about how this graph looks. I'm pretty sure, was it top or RTOP? Oh, I don't have RTOP on here. That's the one. Top, I think, took about 2 weeks, and then RTOP was a one and done. All right, let's get into Richter. Yesterday, we left off partially done with one of the cutscene functions. I do need to re-import that cutscene function for the PSP. There's 3 versions of the game, primarily that we decompile. A fourth, if you count Saturn, but there's not as much active work done, mostly because the tooling isn't quite there yet for Saturn. There's a lot of tooling around PlayStation, PSP, MIPS processors in general. Hey, Nate, good to have you back. Haven't seen you in a while. So we focus on the PlayStation version, a version called HD, which was we think a development build that just happened to be included in the PSP release and all subsequent releases. The PSP build itself, and then a portable build. I do want to go over one thing that I did and finished off last night. I posted a comment about it in GitHub. If you go to the pull request, I really should review some of these. That would be nice of me to do. Oh. Don't know why this is broken. Need to go back and look at that. Need to look at this one as well. So I added a change to separate different assets, and the way that I wanted to do that was to keep... Hey, Spring Quetzal, good to have you back. I wanted to keep assets that were the same, but the ones that differ, we need to separate in some way. So I found specifically the graphics, the sprites, the other things that were different, namespace those, so they're going to be in PSP, HD, things like that, US. And the ones that are the same, they actually will get overwritten every time you export those graphics from the game binary. Those will get overwritten, and the last one to export those wins, but that's okay because they're the same, no different. And then earlier this week I talked about how there is a slight issue with that if you're trying to build all these things in parallel and 2 different versions of the game are writing those assets that are the same or shared, even though the final content is going to be the same. when you're writing a file, if you're writing that incrementally, another process that reads that file might see a partially written file along the way and then fail. And that does happen. Hey, Dig Down Deep, good to have you back. So this change that I had would let you build US and then PSP and then HD in any order you wanted, and it would prevent one of those builds from failing, which they were doing before, but it wouldn't let you build them in parallel. And so there's some discussion going back and forth there. And I knew what the issue was that prevented them, and that was the atomic writes that I was talking about earlier. So I have a branch out now that can build everything in parallel, and it saves about 10% of the total time rather than building them independently, which isn't a huge amount, but it's better than nothing. And there might be some other optimizations in there as well. And the way to do this, like I said earlier, was to use an atomic writer. There's actually some stuff in here that I need to get rid of that isn't relevant anymore. But what an atomic writer does is writes to a temp file, and then when you close that temp file, renames it to the file that you want to write, and what you see on the file system is always a completed file then. And so that works, and it's fine. And we could build all 3 game versions in parallel, which is pretty sweet. Hey, does it? Good to have you back. What's nice about that, and also about this other change, is not having to clean the build directory or the assets directory in between builds, which is a pain. And at least for me, it's not something that I like to do, so I don't do it. And then I'll make a change, test it on the US version, which we have the most code decompiled for. If it works there, I'm happy, submit my PR, and then CI kicks in, and the PSP version or the HD version or the portable builds, one of those fails. And so anything that we can do to make it more likely for your build to fail locally fast first is better. The other thing that this allows when all of those builds are together is I can say, I like to use touch, but if you're not familiar with Unix, that might not be something that you're familiar with. Touch just modifies the time. But I can make a change to this file, for example. This is also used in PSP-EU, so I might want to make a change here, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm going to save that. And the compiler now knows that this file change, it needs to recompile everything that includes it. And so I can run that. It'll find all the things that need to be recompiled in all 3 versions of the game, recompile all of them. And I didn't have to clean in between. I didn't have to, there's 3,000 steps to build at the moment. And it's probably going to be closer to 6,000 or more by the time we're done. So anything that we can do to reduce the amount of rebuilding that whole graph is makes our life easier and faster. And anything we can do to avoid having to clean in between. The full build with all 3 versions takes 54 seconds on my machine. Is that good? Is that bad? It is what it is. I don't have the fast. I have an i7, but it's older i7. It has a lot of cores, which is nice. I have a lot of memory, which is nice, but it's not the fastest. So for me, anything I can do to reduce the total time is beneficial. I just want to see what I have here. I think that's fine. All right, let's get back to Richter. So we were working on the Richter cutscene entity. An entity is something that changes in a stage. Genius level hacking. I don't know about that. And like usual, I have too many tabs open, so Safari's going to take a while to swap everything back in. There we go. I'm going to go back to that function. Oh, no. It's always a bummer when this happens, but that's okay. I don't think anything is lost. What I wanted to do was re-import the PSP version of this function, if I can find it. And the reason I want to re-import the PSP version, this was not it. It's like my other one might have, was it deleted? Is because I was missing the jump tables, and I want those to get an M2C decompilation. This was not it. So yeah, somehow my PSP version got nuked. That's okay. We found some things yesterday to find the PSP version, so let's go find those again. None of those are it. Let's see if I have a Vim history. I probably don't have a Vim history with it either. And so we'll just have to find some of those magic numbers. Yeah. All right, no problem. So to match versions between games, this works between any version of the game. There's certain numbers that are going to be unique. I usually try to find those. Those could be things like flags. They could be sound effect IDs, which are really good. Something like this 22, which is the Holy Glasses item offset. This 802 is a kind of a unique flag that I don't see very often. Anything like that is good for finding duplicates. I'm going to start with that. This set of flags. And when you can find one duplicate function, then you can name that function, give that particular address a name, and that helps you find the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And pretty soon you have all of your symbols for a different version of the game. We want PSP. And that was good enough. So why do we do the PSP EU version of the game as opposed to PSP US or other? JP? That's because the PSP version of the game, oh, I did that yesterday too, is the first version that I'm familiar with that has multi-language support. And it's also the version that ships with all of the Requiem. And so it's the mobile releases, Requiem, any modern release of Symphony of the Night. I did it again. I did it again. I can't believe I did it again. Let's start over. So the reason I wanted to start over to begin with was because I didn't include the jump tables. We don't get those for free right now in our PSP extract. I'm not sure why. I'm going to grep for JTable. I haven't looked into it. There may be a simple explanation why we're not getting the jump tables, but I don't know what it is. And it hasn't bothered me enough. Usually it's not an issue. We have 3 uniques, which is a lot. Usually there's just 1. But we have to go find each of those individually. The way that I extracted PSP, they'll all be in the same file. They should be a single RO data file. And I'm going to grab each one of those. They probably are in order. So we have 710 and then 6A8 is ahead of it, and 678 is, so I can grab all 3 at the same time. I don't remember if I said hi, Dizik, but if I didn't, welcome back. Good to have you. I like to explain as well, I kind of go through the motions a lot. What are all the things that I'm typing in all the time? I use Vim as my text editor. Use the text editor that you like. I like Vim, and that's why I do it. I'm SSH'd into a desktop that I have next to me. I work from my laptop because it's a Mac, and I prefer that, but I don't have a Mac desktop. And modern Macs can't run 32-bit code, and we need to run some 32-bit code reasons. Don't want to run a VM, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I'm SSH'd in a TMUX session. TMUX is a terminal multiplexer. Not important if you don't know what that means. But I need a way to get things from Vim on my desktop remotely into the copy buffer on my Mac. And so I do that with a script called pbcopy. The pasteboard, one of the awesome things I think about Mac OS is ultimately it's just Unix and uses a lot of Unix concepts. And so the pasteboard is a program that runs in the background, and you can interact with it in lots of different ways. You can interact with it through the command line. And so when I SSH into this box, it opens up some ports, and those ports connect to a script on my local host that listens, and then anything that comes over those ports, it shoves that into the copy buffer. That's what pbcopy does. All right, so I have a RO data section. I'm going to put my jump tables there, and then I have to reset the section to text, which means, for whatever reason, code sections are called text. If anybody knows why that's called text, from a historical perspective, that would be awesome. Now we have a M2C generated. That was enough to get M2C to generate a decompile. We're not going to use it, at least not directly. We're just going to use it for reference. So a couple things to fix. I don't know if I fixed primitive yesterday. I need to go grab this enum. The primitive struct has a slightly different size on the PSP, so we have to go through and fix that. M2C doesn't support if-defs. So we have to M2C doesn't support if-defs, so we can't put that in the context. Decomp.me doesn't support different contexts per platform. So however your context looks when you create a new scratch, that's the way it's going to look for your next scratch. So I tend to not make this change in my default because I am usually decompiling PlayStation. So I just do this manually each time. It's kind of a pain, but it is what it is. So that gets us decompiling. I'm going to do one more thing, which is to take the function and add its signature. That'll help M2C a little bit more and help me read what M2C is doing. So we're going to grab that over here. So let's go top to bottom. First thing we have is an additional function call that doesn't exist, or does not appear to exist anyway. And it's currently unnamed. Where it is either in shared code or one of the early overlays. If this was unique, it would be called func_PSP. I'm going to go look here. It does appear to be unique, though, for the PSP version of the game. And there appears to be more than one of those cases here, so we have to be a little bit careful along the way to determine what that is. So it is a function in DRA. It It doesn't look like it's mapped. So we know that it's coming. It actually shows up in this DAI Caverns, Catacombs. I can never remember which one DAI is. But let's look there. And that's all it is. It's just this function being called right at the start of the cutscene. It is unique, though, to the PSP. So we'll put that in if def. We have a move. So what I'm going to do is go through. We have a mostly completed function, not matching too closely on the PSP. I'm going to go through and look at the differences. There's certain things that I care about, certain things that I don't. Anything labeled R is a register difference. Not too concerned with that. S is stack difference. That just means our stack sizes are different. Not overly concerned with that right now either. Maybe it's worth defining the PSP function symbols. It might be, and I've considered that because so Dizek says this in YouTube chat. Sorry, I still don't have YouTube chat on screen, but I should get to that eventually. I haven't checked in and maybe I should change the way that I think about doing this. I haven't checked in the config to start building the Richter boss on the PSP, and that's usually because I don't want to build both of them at the same time, because in the past it's been such a pain. I have to clean between each one and then debug the differences between each of them as well. But if we get all this other stuff checked in where I can build all of them at the same time just with a single command and I don't have to clean in between, then that makes me much more likely to want to do both of them at the same time. And if I'm doing both of them at the same time, it would make a lot of sense to add the symbols. Right now I don't have it checked in. Adding the symbols is going to be a lot of work that I probably will overwrite by accident at some point. That just means that I should be better about branch hygiene, but that's why I'm not doing it. Long story short. So I'm going to go through and look at these. We do have a lot of really good symbols, so you're probably right, Dizek. Oh, Twitch doesn't allow YouTube chat on. Oh, interesting, Cristiano. I didn't even consider that multi-streaming is, I don't know, verboten by some platforms. Don't tell anybody. All right, 87 is the first, 86, first real big difference. So I think we have we do have a signature there. Value going into A0 is different, though. I wonder if this is being taken as a reference. And I can cast that. Nope. So what is load word? So we're treating this as a like a sign 32 pointer. Is that true? Where did I go wrong? Let's back that out. So I want to cast this as a Sign 32 pointer. And then dereference it. And cast it back as a unsigned 8 pointer. So that gives me the load word. Oh, is that it? Actually, I don't need to dereference it, right? No, I do. So, is this... Yeah. Scripts are funny. I'm gonna go look. See what's going on here. So scripts are... They're bytes. They're showing up as unsigned 8 pointers. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just that I'm explicitly calling it an array. So let's try that. Oh, where'd my... Yeah, that was it. So when like I said yesterday, the value of the label is the address of the table. Array symbol is a pointer to the first element of the array. Why that's treated differently, I don't know. I think I did look at these, and they are. Maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe they're not arrays. Maybe they are just 32-bit values that are pointers. Doesn't matter because MetroWorks likes this better. And let's go back down to 86. Now we have the same castle flags. It looks like there is something slightly different here. Oh, we don't, of course we don't have set cutscene script. It's absurd. All right, so there is an additional assignment that's happening. It seems PSP specific. There also is, this is accidental. When the A registers are being used, M2C can't tell. If it's used as an ephemeral value, M2C can't tell if it's actually an argument or not, because it doesn't know. I shouldn't say that. If it doesn't have the function signature, it doesn't know. We could give it the function signature, and then it would know. And we know that that function is now this. Try to get back to where I was. A couple interesting things. It's things that this assignment is happening to the dereference pointer, which could be. So let's go find that. we weren't getting an issue there, and I think that this is probably why, but I don't know. It wasn't an issue on the PlayStation, but we'll see if that makes a difference. And let's go down there and see. So there is an assignment that's happening. We don't know what that is at the moment. So I'm gonna leave it like this for now. Not terribly concerned with some of the extra stuff. I will put the set cutscene script. I'll put that in the context too, because that will help the compiler. Oh no, I have it. It context is only for M2C. I don't need to worry about that. All right, let's go down to 121. Yeah, there's some ordering issues here. Did we resolve all these? Not quite. So M2C here is saying flags, brim index, cutscene control. These are all zeros. So we can't tell from the symbols what that order is, but I'm gonna go with that. Let's see what that ended up looking like. If that's correct, that looks much better. All right. So we're masking the next char timer. This code came from elsewhere, so I'm pretty confident in it. Nothing, or at least not much, changed here. I'm going to switch back over and look at this in DAI. So there is this next char pointer. Possibly this works regardless of whether this is PlayStation or not. I think before I start making a big change like that, I'm going to go and copy this back to the PlayStation and see what it is. Dizik made the comment earlier that we don't need the PlayStation version or the PSP version, but having the symbols. In general, we have a pretty strict policy of if you include it, it should be CI'd. So if I was going to start adding symbols for the PSP, and putting those into the shared repository, I'd want to add the overlay. That doesn't mean that I need to decompile it. I would be tempted to, though. I don't know. I definitely get the sentiment, and I'm feeling the burden of it. Did this change anything? It made us worse. Awful, awful PSP. Let's see where we might have gone wrong. Yeah, I was worried about this. So on the PSP, these are pointers, and on the PlayStation, they're not. How do we want to deal with that? That's a pretty big difference. I'm gonna, I guess. Now I can add that other code as well. Yuck. The addressing was enough. I remember looking at these in data and the way that SPIM disassembles them. It disassembled them as 4 1-byte values, and they're probably aligned BSS. So even though they only take up 1 byte, the compiler is going to extend them to 1 word in size, so it can easily address the thing that follows them. Oh, cool, Nate. Good to see. Yeah, all the ACE stuff I'm very interested in. I like this. Oh, I need to gift these as well. Of course, I did all that work, and now on 91. Oh, this needs to be different as well. Because on the PlayStation, this is, I'm pretty sure this is an array. Interesting to see the addressing differences there, though, too. Then that should be able to come out. All right, are we back to where we were before? Let's see how far I need to undo to get back to what I had. 96.64, and we're at 96.98. I saved already, so I didn't see what the old number was. It looks like we got 0.5% closer, though, which is good. We still have too much on the stack here, but not enough on the stack on the PSP. It looks like there probably was a bunch changed between the versions here. This whole section, oh, jeepers. This was all aligned correctly. It is possible that it's just these that are causing an issue. These were all aligned correctly, though. And now they're not. Bummer. This looks like it might be coming from G-Dialog, based on another version that I'm looking at. What a bummer. So let's go compare these DAI versions, because DAI, I believe, is done. And let's look at how these end up going and being the same in both cases. So a little surprised that doesn't work the same way on the PlayStation. The next thing, though, is this next char field. That is going to get us... But let's get into it and see. Oh, yeah, Dizik's pointing out the double set on line. The or equals here. Now let's look at M2C. Often GCC will keep track of like what the assignments are, and then do some work here to optimize it. But we can tell on the PSP if that's what's happening or not. If the code matches on the PSP, almost universally, it's correctish. More correct, probably, than if it matches on the PlayStation. And so, yeah, we are getting this or equals. The 80 and the... So, on MIPS, you can only load 16 bits of immediate data or constant data at a time, so we have to do the load in two. But this or immediate is building this value here, and then we're doing an or on the load of flags. And then down below, the same thing. So the ordering here may or may not be correct, but it is a little odd, I will admit that, but it's not unprecedented either. All right, so we're going to introduce a new variable, and it looks like it is oddly an unsigned 16. This next char. Boy, we're going to get into it. Oh, we already have a next char. What do you know? So along the way now we have to update next char. What I'm interested in is whether or not... oh, we are setting it already. So this should actually be fine. This is a dead store. It's a local variable getting assigned to 0. This should work on the PlayStation without any issue. We can go confirm that. It may end up with some register changes, but it shouldn't be too much. Nothing reads. Yeah, this is fine actually to have here. I thought that was going to be something new altogether. Oh, I missed a bunch of stuff. Halkun, good to have you back. Oh, do you still have your doc, Halkun, on the GTE stuff? So Halkun says that he wrote a doc about reverse engineering the PlayStation architecture, specifically the hardware. I'm definitely interested in everything you have to say. So between the math that I don't remember and details about how MIPS talks with coprocessors and all that. I mean, there's a world of information probably in GTE that I don't know. So yeah, any insight is valuable. Happy to take mentorship there. I did post in so we have a PlayStation SDK room in our Discord as well. I posted what I was finding about the GTE library there as well. So I think I'll probably do a little more work there and go ahead with it. That's one of the areas where I poke around a lot, but don't necessarily move quickly. So it's probably not something that I would do on the stream. All right, so I'm trying to see here. We have this value in the branch delay slot. It's going to go back up to the top, and we're either loading the immediate value 8 or the immediate value 0. And we have to go back up to the top of the loop and try to determine what is up here that the original would want the value 8 for versus our value 0. So let's see what this comparison is. It's a branch equal to 0 instruction. Hey Chaos, good to have you back. The negated condition. Oh, yeah, that's actually interesting. I can dig that. No, what would that give us? No, I want the early return. Let's look at what register that's going into. V1. Oh, they're just in the wrong order. Yeah, I remember that from yesterday. But it's more than the wrong order because this wouldn't be happening. It's the draw mode. It's the draw mode. I see what you're saying. You're saying negate this condition. Like this. I can get there. I'll get there. I like that idea. Yeah, that was worth a shot. So the only other thing that I can think of, and it's not a very good idea, it's an idea, but not a good one, is to throw draw mode into a variable. Oh, fix the screen. Oh, thank you. Yes. Sorry about that. Didn't notice my notifications come back. It's not there. Besides notifications showing up on the screen, I don't have a good indicator as to when capture stops. All right, so I'm going to look at this one as well. Yeah, it's implemented the same way. So when there's multiple instances where it's all implemented the same way, it makes me feel like it's unrelated to this code and something else that's ultimately causing the issue. We were working through. I took a break and was looking at the PlayStation version. I'm going to keep going though on the PSP and try to figure that out. A bunch of stuff happening here that is different. Well, where are we? Where is our big? Sorry, I'm losing the plot. Here, we're here. Case 13 showing up here is interesting as well. But it's case 13 of Switch 2, which is just the continue. So there probably is one of these cases, yeah, which just continues. So no big issue there. Yeah, so let's go back up there. Now I got it. I think I know what's going on. Next char I have as being set outside the loop, but it actually looks like it's being set inside. And there's a bunch of... There's an additional function here that isn't in the original. Peeking at... Yep, so that is so here's the hint. So this is different on the PSP version, but why am I getting that value, that 8 value? So we will add that. And there is an additional variable in there as well that I'm not... that I don't see yet, this SP40. It's called SP40 in... Oh, the ordering of all this is different too. Yeah, it might not be as valuable as I thought to keep these together. So looking at these different versions, next char is set as the first thing that happens in the script in the PSP version. It happens after this check in the PlayStation version. This is mutating this script cursor, so it has to happen. And so as I make more and more of these differences, it's going to get uglier and uglier. But it all seems like it's necessary. Where's there is a missing 8. There's an additional variable here as well that's showing up this SP40. It looks like it is a trigger to break out of the while loop. I'm going to do this. Let's see how different these are. Unfortunately, they're much more different than I was hoping. Yeah, we see some of the same things. Having a word size value instead of a pointer. Next char is getting masked. Oof. This part doesn't differ between the implementations, so I'm going to ignore it. Unfortunately, that's going to cause some other issues if this doesn't get resolved between the two. To get this to match more closely on the PSP, we're always going to have register issues. The variables are going to be assigned to different registers. Our stack might not be correct, and so we're pushing things to the stack where we shouldn't be. Those all might be legitimately wrong on this version, but what I want to focus on is this last section because I'm not sure. I'm not sure that was matching. I was hoping that this was going to go a little better. We actually have all of this bottom part matching, so I don't need to focus on that either. So for the PlayStation, what I really need is what is forcing us to go to the stack for one more variable. I think that would get us mostly there. So I'm going to look at that. And that can be a tricky thing, especially in the optimized version. What I usually will do is highlight these stack variables. It's not completely straightforward. I can do things based on the SP register. That's fine. It would be nice to be able to highlight like the entire register plus offset, but we'll do this for now and see. And so what we want to see is when the stack is used on both sides, is it used consistently? Are we using the same offsets or not? And if we're not using the same offsets, do we think that that's correct or not? Oh, and I missed this. This is all broken now. So let's get this back into a reasonable order. I'm going to look at M2C's order, and then I know M2C's order was not correct either. But we'll try to get this mostly looking right. Now the last thing we do is the store. The step is incremented further up. That's looking better. Mm. So the last, what I'm looking at here is what order are these done? Because these are all rights, and because they're not aliased, or at least GCC thinks that they're not aliased. It is free to reorder the reads as it sees fit. We have little tricks like this that act kind of as barriers, and will force certain things to happen where we want them. And I have to type them correctly for them to work. So what I'm trying to do here is force this load, but the store actually doesn't happen until much further down. Where's our load? Half from 2C. Let's try that. No, not quite right. Drat, I think I had this correct earlier. I'm going to save this. I'm going to see if I can revert this back to when it was correct, which is quite a while ago. Hopefully my undo buffer is long enough. Maybe I never had it correct. Oh, that's it. That's my undo buffer. Drat. I'll have to go back and watch the stream and see what it was. We would have it possibly on the PSP side. Let me undo that. Yes, so this is where the PSP started. This is the first paste. Let's try that. No, still wrong. Okay, so I must not have ever had it correct. I was hoping to get the order from the PSP, but that order does seem to be wrong. Then does it make a difference? Probably not. Bummer. And let's restore what we got there. All right, I'm going to skip this. Look at everything else. Go back to what I was talking about originally, which is looking at the stack pointers. Nothing regarding the stack pointers here. Not seeing much, really. Here's our first one. Way down on 390. So when you run out of argument registers, you have to push the other ones to the stack, and then they'll be loaded by the function that you call. In this case, we're loading things as expected. Could be a function signature issue. All these are correct. Yeah, everything else is fine. But we have 8 extra bytes that are ending up on the stack. And unfortunately, they're not showing up obviously. Registers are another option to look at as well, so that looking at the S registers. Can they tell us anything? We can go through and see, are we using the same registers in the same places for the same things? The first place we see that that's not happening is 153. 153 is a while loop, and those are all ephemeral and being used for things by the compiler, and so there's not much that can be done there. The MetroWorks makes this much nicer because those are consistent. Here we have that same 213. That's where we were before. 213 loading those arguments in the wrong or an unexpected order. Uh, 254 looks like it's very similar. This one actually I'm going to break apart, and it's possible that this... so this is how the other one is written, right? The one on... Yes. So there's no reason that they should be written differently. In fact, I wonder if they can be the same. I missed it. But we're getting the same issue there on 254 as the other one. It can't quite be the same because there's more stuff that happens down here. Register issues. So I would say that, I have an idea. It's a terrible idea, but I have one idea. It looks like it's really this a section of assignment that's possibly screwing everything up. Let's do some tricks. There's gonna be a few things I'm gonna try. First, I'm gonna go look to see whether or not any other overlay sets this flag. And what is this flag that we're setting? It's an unknown flag. Unknown flag 10,000. Let's see if anybody is setting that in a cutscene file. Nobody. Okay. We'll grab these while we have them. So there isn't any other cutscene quite like this. Let's look at we grabbed this from Sen, so Sen isn't gonna give us anything. Let's look at a few more of them and see. So we have flags, cutscene flags. Cutscene has control, being almost last. Prim index, and then step. So one of my thoughts here was, are these being set in line? Something like this. And does that make a difference? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Are there other things that we can do? This offset 64 store on 64 is the prim index. And that's happening before this load immediate. Yeah, this just seems extremely out of order. So our prim index and 1.4c are happening before all of this. Commenting line 147. There. The one thing that I didn't think of, and let's move these back down. Let's make sure that I have the right types for these. That could be an issue as well. I think I grabbed the right types for them. I think they're all 32-bit. Unsigned 32. Okay. I have this as a signed 32, so let's change it to unsigned. It shouldn't make a huge difference, but I'm grasping at straws. This is signed 32. Okay, that's signed 32 as well. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. That sucks. I have a linter for this, and I can't use it because of cases like this. Let me put this back and try to get this back in the right order. Ugh. So what it looks like is happening, and I dislike that it is. Let's look at this one. So we think of the increment operator as being the same as a plus equals 1. 99% of the time it is. But when it's not, it's not. So here we have cutscene flags. Is cutscene done? Cutscene has control. Primitives. Actually, this might be the issue as well. This is pointing to that might be the other one. Let's move cutscene flags up. That probably was more likely to be it than the increment operator. But there we go. There was a pointer there and I missed it. A global struct access array. Dilly. And let's see if the ordering matches then on the PSP. I'm sure it will. Yeah, Supreme Quetzal is asking, what are we decomping? This is the cutscene for Richter, for the Richter boss fight. So I think, where is the cutscene? It must be after the Richter boss fight. Maria comes. Everybody's reunited. Let's go to the decomp. So it has control. False, false, false. This prim index is getting set much higher. I'm going to try it there. We'll see. Then the plus equals 1. So I was wrong about the plus equals 1, but it did make me think and took me to the right place. So let's try this ordering. Often the ordering won't make a difference. So we have some symbols here that are different, but other than that, that's correct. Unfortunately, it did not fix everything. Oh, my jump is going to the wrong place because I'm missing it. I have a fall through when I should be not falling through. And I'm assuming that these are, yeah, they're the same except for our stack. Okay, so the only thing missing now is the stack. So let's look for places that registers are different. And those may or may not point to what's going on. Let's do this as well. I had that one wrong value. This one here. Do we have anything else in this range? Because it could be that I'm treating a global as, or I've grabbed a global symbol that wasn't mapped to a struct or array in a way that I should have grabbed it. The easiest way to tell that is unfortunately to decompile most of the data, and then as you get rid of addresses, you learn what things overlapped. Still dealing with this out of order thing. I'm hoping that when the stack gets resolved, that will get resolved as well. Here we go. No, it's the same thing. right, so is there a variable that I introduced that wasn't in the original? My eyes are glazing over. So here's our last section. This is different than any others. Is there anything unique in here? Possibly. It could be that this switch isn't actually a switch, but it just a condition. The way that this is written, I don't think that's the case. So this was different, and then the top was different. Is there anything up here? Now we have this next char 2. It seems unnecessary. I'm going to try to get rid of it. It's used other places. So either the size of one of these variables or the existence of one of these variables is causing the stack to be slightly larger than I want it to be. And we have an I and a J. Is that necessary? Is there an outer I? In this case, it doesn't look like it. I'm going to try to replace J with I. If they don't interact, GCC is pretty good about coalescing them into the same registers and not requiring extra space for them. I think I'm going to have to force myself back here. I didn't want to go back. Right at the start, we're getting this move of V0 to S4. Oh, that may be a hint. A hint about what? Occasionally we see having function signatures or the type of conditional operators that are used will affect what registers are used in MetroWorks. I'm looking for this function and trying to see if there is no function signature. So we never have a function signature there. Sometimes if we know that this is a void, for example, what's happening here is the V0 register, which is the result of this, is being moved to a different register, and it's kind of a superfluous operation. We don't need to save off that value for any reason. And then it's not used again. All right, let's go through some of these registers and see. A0 should be arg0. Can't necessarily be trusted. S0 should be a variable. But it's being used as ephemeral. S1. $118. This is the first case where I would think that what we're getting back here should be going into the same register. It's going into the V1 register first and then being moved. It is possible that it's because of these additional assignments that don't exist. So let's add those. Let me go back over here. Look for set cutscene script. And this is part of the unique part of this. So let's look at M2C. So here's our cutscene skip. This is all ordered the same. We're grabbing the step. And then checking another variable up here. Not sure what that is at the moment. But we'll just put it in there verbatim. And when there is a... this is interesting about the PSP. I said we need additional variables. When we see a read on the PSP, if it happens twice, it would be cached usually on the PlayStation, but not in the PSP version. That's just because of the optimizer, not because of anything wrong with MetroWorks. It's just not optimized. So I think we have to pull this out into a variable, so temp A0 in this case. And temp A0, it should be a unsigned 16 is fine. And that'll give us a little more room on the stack as well, which we need. We need to declare this variable as well. And none of this is none of this is showing up. So where is the call to this 538? Unfortunately, I can't search over here. Oh, this is Never mind, this is saying that. Got it. Okay, so what... This cutscene run logic occurs after this. It's not a PSP specific thing, and there's no separate variable. It's getting stored in the A0 register. M2C doesn't know the signature of this function, so it assumes that it's an argument, but it's not. So that's easier than I thought. No, don't fork. However, that may be what's missing on the PlayStation now. Some of our branches are going the right way. Or should be. We could look at that and see if that is the way that branches as well. What we want to look at is this EC branch. There are things branching to E8 that should be going to EC. And, oh, duh. They're the same. I'm stupid. We're just offset by one. Frisky, a weed, says, is it possible to add RetroArch shaders? I have no idea. My knowledge of shaders is just about zero. And I missed Halcon's message from earlier. Oh, did the music stop? No, it should be back on. The thing is that GT is not technically isn't a coprocessor. It doesn't sit in the coprocessor slot, but it's a memory map device. The FPU, which normally sits at the coprocessor, doesn't exist. Yeah. I didn't realize that I guess I didn't realize that it was memory map device, and just assumed that it was a coprocessor because it seems to leverage a lot of those instructions that typically go to the coprocessor, but it must just be writing out to that map device. Everything you wanted to know about the PlayStation, but were afraid to ask. Oh, thank you. I will go grab that. At Zophar's domain. This is a wonderful document. It looks like, was it a Word doc or PDF? The Zophar domain one looks like it's a render of a different format. I will take a look at that though. That looks fantastic. All right. What are we doing? So too much stack, too little stack. So our first register mismatch issue is here, right at the start of the loop. That's causing a bunch of issues. None that we can necessarily solve directly. And so the red herrings appear to be this misload of S0. What's odd about this? Okay, so this might be the hint. we're loading 0 into S0, which we need. We don't need it unless we don't branch. And then that 0 is ultimately stored in all right, so I want to add a variable for draw mode, but I don't think that that's the right thing to do. I really think that there's something else that I'm missing and just not seeing. Is there any type or any load or store that is wrong besides these? Let's look at for SP as well. Thought I did that and I wasn't seeing anything with the stack pointer. Sorry, scrolling fast. Oh, so the stack pointer would be basically we need to push all the registers that we need onto the stack. And so this is saying we need a register S5 as something is causing us to need that additional S5 register. Whereas the original doesn't use it. So I often equate that with additional variable use. And so here S5 is being used where S4 was used, and that seems consistent. And so I'm going to go within my brain that S5 and S4 are equivalent, and then move on to S4 and S3 and try to see if those are equivalent. When you get the optimizer involved, it's not as clear cut as that. Usually on the PSP, without optimization, we can say if those registers are being used in the same way, they're the same variable, and we can be happy. In this case, S4 and S3 are the same, so I think I'm pretty good with that as well. I think this is where it's going to diverge, S1 and S3. The optimizer might do funny things, like it's doing here. So S3 and S1 are not the same. So it looks like S0 and S3 are the same. But then down here, they're no longer the same. So what is S3 and what is S0? It might be the same, they might not be. And unfortunately, it looks like G dialog maybe is S3. Can we confirm that it's always G dialog? Possibly. Looks like it. Okay, so what is S1 then? If those don't match. S1 is the same, so it looks like S2 is not getting pushed to the stack. Okay, drat. Okay, so S0 and T1 T1 I don't think is a caller saved, or maybe it's a caller saved register as opposed to a callee saved register. Or vice versa. Let's invert that. So S0 and T1 look the same. It doesn't need to get pushed to the stack. So which one was I missing? Or why are we using S0? Sorry, why are we using S1 is the same. S3 is S0. S4 is S3 and S5 is... So why are we using... I need to write these down. I can't remember them. S3 and S1 are not the same. S1 is S1. S3 is S0. S2 is unloved. And RS0 is sometimes S0. But sometimes it's T1. There was a small change in one of these where an additional OR was added. And I wonder if that was a mistake. And which one that was. So the way these scripts work is they're just binary blobs. I pulled this from Sen. And let's grab... I just want to reset myself. This might be a bad idea, that's okay. I don't mind bad ideas. Oh, 1 second. All right. I think we might have to call it. I'm a little late. And I can't Can't just reapply. Bummer. Okay, so I know that at some point when going through this script code, part of this was modified from the original, and I'm wondering if I did that incorrectly. I don't see anything super obvious, unfortunately. It'd be nice if the PSP was a little more in sync, but it looks like not. 58 is a fall through. Weird. This whole thing is weird. I'm not real happy that it's so different. I don't control that though. I just have to deal with it. I'm going to look through real quick. 193. This check is different. So yeah, it looks like a lot of this was just refactored between versions, and unless I can find where I made that change earlier, I don't know if there's going to be an easy way to do this except for grinding through each of these. I do think so. Dizek suggested early on, and I think it's a good idea to go through and add the symbols for the PSP, and that gets us a little closer on the PSP as well, which isn't the worst option. Just so much that's different. Ooh, let's look at this. 282. Is it possible that this is wrong? So 282, the second line isn't going to show up in the debugger because this is going to be a plus equals 2 is my guess. No, it shows up there. This could be, regardless, it could be a plus equals 2. Yes. So there's little things like that that may need to be fixed. Why is this? I'm in the wrong place. Somewhat disappointed that it is very different between the versions. All kinds of things in these scripts. Sound effect ID. Yeah, just throw it in there. Pointers, throw them in there. Anything you need, throw them in there. Looks like it looks like here might be our one variable. This may be a sound effect ID. Or at least next char 2. No, not quite right. All right, I'm going to call it. I don't... that's a little better. I don't have... oh no, whatever this is a unsigned 16, so it's more right this way. We'll come back to it tomorrow and see. Maybe I'll work on it a little tonight and see if I can figure out what's going on there. It might be a good thing to throw into the permuter as well. I haven't used the permuter in a while. Things like this are kind of nice for that. But that's all I got. I gotta go. Bye.